Welcome to the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm George Cummings.
I'm Tori in for T.
Yes, Tori in for T.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I like to say, and I'm sure that I stole this from someone else, but I like to say that the sake of art is to provoke thought and not to pander to popular taste.
Yes.
And I know that there are varying degrees of what people think that might mean. And some people think that art is simply a painting on a wall, or maybe playing a violin somewhere, or maybe doing a play or something like that. But when you talk about the essence of art, you're talking about where it comes from in the soul, from an ethereal standpoint, and not just a singular, linear thought process.
Exactly.
I always think of Forge Ahead Arts because they really bring art up from the bottom up, and really in their projects and in their get-togethers and what they do, they immerse the subject in art. And I think that's really cool.
Absolutely.
Here with me once again, or with us, I should say.
Yes.
This is a team effort.
Sure.
Here with us once again, returning, is Stephanie O'Connor from Forge Ahead Arts.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, good morning, or afternoon, I
Yes.
guess it is.
We're right on the cusp.
Right, okay.
So this is exciting to have you back. Now, give me a little bit of a rundown. I know that you guys put together Forge Ahead Arts a couple of years ago, or within the last few years, and it's you and Moira Singletary and a few others that really kind of have a focus here. And I love the stuff you do because it really takes people out of what they think art is and really immerses them in the definition.
I think that's true. I think that we really are trying to bring a much broader understanding of art to the community, much more sort of edgy type of projects. We really want to involve the community in art, that art is not just something you look at, it's something you do, and it's a process. So, we were talking before about our yarn bombing. We involved the community in creating those pieces. It was conceived by an artist.
Okay, let's for those of you, I am very fond of those pieces, but for the listeners who don't know what yarn bombing is, I came out, I was on down at the theater down the street from the studio one night, came out, and all of a sudden I'm looking at the tree trunks, and they are encompassed in these beautiful yarn pieces, and we all just stood there looking and saying, okay, we don't know what this is, but this is cool.
It is. It's a lot. It's fun. Yarn bombing is something that has kind of spread around the world. It's basically you cover public objects in crocheted or knitted pieces, and it's colorful, it's whimsical. Talk about putting sweaters on the trees. It's just pretty and something different, and it gets the whole community involved because so many people crochet, but they you don't know that, and it's a very creative activity. So we started out with what we called guerrilla crochet circles, and we'd be on the street crocheting, and people would come along and join us. And
Let me add, no gorillas were harmed.
No gorillas were harmed.
Thank you, George.
And we didn't harm anything really. And but it was that aspect of a pop-up, and it was unexpected, which is also
It was
something
completely
art can do.
exactly, and that's how I came out of the theater, and it wasn't on there when we went in, and when we came out at night, what?
Yeah.
And then it was very, very cool.
Right. And it was very pretty. We got a great response from it. And it led to another one that we did at the library, where the pieces, that was led by a different artist, Anne Mukherjee was her name, and the pieces all represented children's books because it was a literary thing for the library. So, and then we also did the river piece, which was another community piece where artists conceived and community members painted river rocks in different hues of blue and green and purple, and sort of created a mosaic of a river in order to stimulate discussion about water usage during...
And this is something, the last time you guys were on, you were talking about putting that together, and it's up there at that, right now is a giant cement slab, will eventually become the Lemley Theater.
Right.
And it's also where the farmer's market was, and that you would have discussions and things like that and set up couches, but also that the skaters at first, who are also up there, who occupy that area at certain times of day, actually had kind of gotten into it. Is that right?
Oh yeah, some of the kids helped paint, and we talked to them. We made it. They ended up. We have a beautiful photograph. Is one of my favorite ones of a skateboarder jumping over the river. That we created, and it just to show how it can sort of be part of the community. And interact with the community. You can interact with the art. And we actually have another piece that we're going to launch at the farmers market again, coming this Saturday. It's called Barriers, and it's a piece about how you deal with limitations in your life. And the community will be invited to think about that and write responses on tape, which will then get woven into a construction fence that will go up on that same lot later this summer.
Now, when you say limitations, what exactly? Give us a little bit, like if a listener says, oh, that sounds like something I want to do, what exactly? Give them a little bit of a direction on what do you expect as limitations?
So a limitation, it's pretty broad, actually. You know, it could be a social limitation, a physical limitation, something, you might have I was very, very shy in high school. Most people who know me now wouldn't think that, but it was very hard for me to talk in public when I was in high school. And so that was a limitation in my life that I had to work to get over.
So what could you do, because I am far from an artist, what would you do, let's take your limitation from high school, shyness, how would you put that into artwork for this Barriers project?
Well, we'll have a piece of tape, and I might talk about, in my case, I would probably put it on the green tape because I feel that I've overcome that limitation. But I might start with a really small thing because I was really quiet and I didn't want to talk very loud, and it might get bigger and bigger and bigger as I wrote on the tape.
Oh, I gotcha.
Right? So I would do something like that, and then all of those different tapes will be woven into the fence. Because a fence is a barrier and a limitation also, right? So we're sort of asking people to think about what limitations do for us. How do we overcome them? They protect us also, right? Limitations and barriers from, in my case, I was shy, and so I was protecting myself from this big bad social world that I didn't quite get yet.
Sure.
But in the sense of a construction fence, it's very, protects us from the danger of the construction going on there. It's very important. So there's all different kinds of ways it could be interpreted.
And I'm sorry, George.
Oh, no, be my guest.
Thank you. Anyone is allowed to participate?
Absolutely. It is wide open. Anybody can come. We're going to be at the farmer's market on Saturday morning.
Tomorrow
we're going to be
morning.
there for several Saturdays, and we're going to be looking up, you might find us at some other places. We're going to be looking up some other places to put up a booth and invite people to participate.
And it's going to be freestanding for a while.
We're working with Lemley and Serrano in the city in terms of getting the installation, and there's some sort of fluidity in terms of when the fences go up and when they come down. So we're not 100% sure exactly at this point when it's going to be installed. Originally, it was going to go up this summer. Now that fence might not be up long enough for it to happen there, so we might wait for the later fence to go up.
But all we have to do is go to your Facebook probably, and you'll have all the dates.
This will be posted, and we will
keep us notified.
But
now, I want to ask you about this because you are an educator in your other life now, and I'm noticing a pattern here a little bit of the learning process that, again, we talk about art isn't just something you look at. Is this something that you have taken that experience as a teacher, as an educator, in weaving into some of these projects you're doing, or is this something that's kind of a combined effort from the other members of Forge Ahead?
I think it's a combined effort, really, from the other members of Forge Ahead. I think that all of us are very interested in sort of social questions and social issues and how we interact as people and humans. Our mission is to build community through the arts. How do we connect with people? We're in such a digital age with Facebook and stuff. The communication has changed so much since I was a child. And
it's changed in the last 10 years.
Exactly, and I think we don't think about how that has really impacted us. And so a lot of what we do has to do with kind of pushing that idea of communicating in a more social way, in a public way.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I was actually honestly thinking about that this morning on my way back here. I was talking about this and talking about the level of communication and on so many different levels, as opposed to where you do have social media, where it's one idea generated for a knee-jerk reaction in some cases, or as I like to call it, we have our truths that we want to believe without really having any discussion. And I could post something, or you could see a post that is a one-liner that, oh my gosh, that gets me so mad. Even if the article has nothing to do or to be called
Right.
clickbait, but that generates that response without really going into the communication, or the communication is so,
Because we
name
don't,
calling.
yeah,
and
because
trash
we don't know the
talking.
journey. We don't know the
Right.
journey behind it.
Right.
Exactly. And
Right.
that's a great example.
And we really, art has a wonderful, wonderful ability to bring people together, and it's how we sort of share things in almost a visceral way as opposed to an academic or intellectual way, and that really helps us feel our mutual humanity, and that sounds really kind of hoity-toity, but but I really think it's true on a very down-to-earth kind of level. And that's actually, I wanted to talk about today, was our task party that we have coming up
Oh, what's
next
this?
week.
Okay,
So
let's look at this.
So-
Task party, TASK party.
TASK party. A task party is an art-making party, basically. So you're invited to come in. We ask you to write a task for somebody on a piece of paper and put it in a box, and we ask you to pull a task out of the box. And then you use whatever supplies are in the space to complete your task. And the tasks can be anything from have a conversation with a stranger to build your dream house.
Well, I was hoping
Right?
something like clean my bathroom. I could
Yeah,
kind of
well,
sneak
you'd
that
have
in
to go
there.
home, though. We want you to
okay.
stay at the party.
Okay. So close.
But what it does, besides getting you thinking out of the box and thinking creatively about how you can complete your task, it also tends to break down those social barriers, right? It tends to, because we're interacting with people in different ways that we're not really
Interacting,
used to.
what is that? We don't do that anymore.
And not just in a way that is where there's a computer screen and an internet connection. We're actually face to face.
Face to face. Yes,
We're talking with
that's right.
Stephanie O'Connor from Forge Ahead Arts about the things going on, about art in general, how it affects our life, but also things coming up that you guys are doing. And again, I can't express how awesome it is the way you guys really immerse the I don't know if they would be called patrons. I don't know.
Yeah,
Customers,
sure.
guests, in what it means, what art really truly means. And you're right about bridging the gap on so many ways. We played a Motown song, I think, yesterday in the morning, and talking about Motown bringing together, really, really getting rid of that divide in music starting in the 60s, and that was the art form there. And you think about all these other things, music especially had the power of bringing a lot of people together. And there are so many other things that don't pander. They make you really think and provoke and realize, oh, that wasn't as big deal as I thought it was, or
Right.
whatever it is that
Whatever
you're
it
trying to
is.
promote. And I think it's awesome that these things are coming up. So the task, this is Thursday, task party, Thursday, June 30th.
Right.
Right up the street.
Right across the
Right
street.
across the street.
Yeah.
The 24200
It's
block.
a-
That's
yes.
down that way.
And we're partnering with the city because they have all their Thursdays and Newhall events. But there were 2 months, June and September, that had a fifth Thursday. So where they had nothing programmed. So we said, you know what, we'll do this. We want-
Thursdays at New Hall are it's so much fun because I'm always here on a Thursday and I see everybody setting up and it just has the block party feel and you're ready to just have a great time. So it's going to be next Thursday,
Right.
during Thursdays at New Hall, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tickets are only $1.
That's right.
Is that just to cover the cost of supplies?
Frankly, $1 doesn't cover the cost of supplies. We feel very strongly that art needs to be accessible to all. So we do not want price to be a barrier for our events. So we will always be looking to find ways to, fund them elsewhere and present them to the public for either free or for whatever they can afford. We are more than happy to accept more than $1 if you think you can pay it.
Donations
But
are always
those
welcome.
Donations are
Yes.
always welcome, but that is just the cost is just $1. There will be food and beverage available for purchase, since with $1 ticket price we can't.
I like this. This does
pay
say,
for it.
like it, love it, donate more at the door or when you leave. So
That's right.
again,
Exactly.
Yes.
So go online to forgeaheadarts.org. Tickets at the door or online?
Either way, we'll
Oh,
take them
okay.
at the door. We do have a setup so that you can purchase a ticket online and have a reserved space. The place is, if you're familiar with downtown Newhall, the old buildings that were where Fleur Wellness Spa is and Doris's Beauty Salon, there's a little sort of yard behind them.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the place where it is. Got that cute little gate right in front, and that's where we'll be having people come in.
And
so.
there's no age limit or age.
There's no age
Everyone welcome?
limit. Everybody's welcome. I would say, really young children, it might be, it's an evening event, but certainly, anywhere from upper elementary up through grandparents, so.
The one thing I don't think we touched on, Stephanie, is the nucleus, how Forge Ahead Arts was forged. How did this come together?
I spent several years raising a family. And then when my kids were grown and I started looking around and going, what am I going to do now? And I have 2 kids in particular who are artists. And I thought, where in Santa Clarita could they do their art? And there aren't that many opportunities for young artists here. And so I started talking with Moira, who's also an artist and a good friend. And we said, well, we'll just start one then.
And there it is.
That's it,
And that's how it was born.
That's how it was
And what was
born,
the first thing you did to make this happen?
The first thing we did was actually part of the city's Art Slam things. We started doing some of those pieces and projects, interactive pieces. We did a piece Moira had conceived called Apple Pie, which was on a 4th of July slam, and it was sort of about thinking about communication again and where we are in the world. So apple pie is very American, but, it was served on plates that were made in China, and we had newspapers from around the world. And it was a really interesting piece. And then the next one was a chocolate slam, where we invited people to think about the journey chocolate takes from pod to palate. It was really sort of a social activist type of piece because
And chocolate. Come
chocolate. It's chocolate. It's wonderful. We all love it, but there's actually a lot of human trafficking in the chocolate industry, and we wanted to raise awareness of that. So we did that. And we just started picking projects and moving forward, and here we are today.
So again, getting the conversation rolling, which is what art should do, start a dialogue.
Right.
And whether it's within yourself or with other people. Mm-hmm. And that could be, a play where it's like, wow, what did you think of that? It takes you out of the moment. Anything in art can take you out of your own moment and bring you back with a different perspective, which I think is awesome. ForgeAheadArts.org. Stephanie, of course, also an actress on occasion as well. We've had the pleasure of working together. And doing anything else? Or are you just mostly focusing on this for now?
Mostly on this for now. I've got big plans for next year, so I'll have to come back and tell you about those someday.
Absolutely.
Well, all right. This is great and always a lot of fun. Stephanie, thank you so much for stopping by. Forge Ahead Arts. Now, so you got tomorrow at the farmers market right up the street at the Old Town New Hall Library parking lot. You will be there.
We will be there. Yep,
barriers. And then Task Party Thursday, Old Town New Hall, just right on the other side of Market Street here in Old Town New Hall. And this is going to be a fun thing. And of course, like I mentioned, ForgeAheadArts.org. You can also look up Forge Ahead Arts on Facebook and get the immediate up-to-date stuff. Thanks again, Stephanie. Always a pleasure to see you. And we will be back with more. This is the Friday Matinee on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS.